Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Truce Talks. Today, we have a very special, dear friend of mine. Actually, this is the godmother of Truce, all truth be told. My guest today is Cindy Gentry, and she has been, for as long as I can remember, involved in issues of food safety, food deserts, food availability. Cindy Gentry, welcome to Truce Talks.
Thank you, Diane. And it has been an inspiration to me to watch you know that you had an important thing to do with your products and Truce, and then make it happen. And all the changes that I know you went through to get to where you are today. It's absolutely my privilege.
Absolutely, haven't we all been through some changes? But we started with you. We started with you
Yeah,
at the Phoenix Public Market,
yeah.
and you smoothed the way, and the rest is history. But our history goes back before then. I remember us working together when I was doing the farm at South Mountain.
Yeah.
Heaven help us all.
We were children then. It was
Yes, we
child
were.
labor,
We
and
really we really did not know what was going on. But it was a start, and I met you and have stayed in touch with you through all these years and all these changes and all these things. And
yeah.
bring me up to speed on what you're doing now, girl.
Well, I have had the great privilege to work for Maricopa County Public Health, and they gave, this is going on 6 years now, they gave me the strategies and the initiatives to expand access to healthy food for vulnerable children and adults, which was exactly what I had hoped to do. And that it was to be increase your food stamp benefits, increase your farmers market nutrition program benefit usage, increase access to fresh farm food at schools. And the theme there began to become clear. If there are no farms, none of these strategies are really going to work. And so about 5 years ago, they let me begin to work with the Maricopa County Cooperative Extension, Kelly Young, who they're partners with the county, to begin to build some cooperative relationships between some of the smaller scale farmers who heretofore had understood each other to be competitors, and that there's only so much money in the world, and if that person gets it, I'm not going to, and we don't want to trust. And I totally understand that. It's really, really, as you know, hard work
Mhm.
to get seeds in the ground and have it come out as food, and then have a place to go. So we began working on thinking about how we could open up market opportunities for these small scale producers, and in that way be able to have the food available, um, healthy food, particularly for low income, low access communities, but everybody to eat well, and connect that to economic viability for them and
Mhm.
community development. And the upshot of that is 3 years ago, with the county support and the extension support, we formed Sun Produce Cooperative, which is a marketing and distribution co-op for smaller scale producers.
That's wonderful. And are these producers being negatively impacted during this pandemic? I'm hearing these horror stories of the large scale farmers who are growing for schools and restaurants, and the big deal. They're pouring their milk out, they're plowing their crops under it. How are the local growers doing?
Literally amazingly well. They had to pivot
Mhm.
because their wholesale and restaurant sales went away when the restaurants closed, and
Yeah,
this
yeah.
and all of that. But they're finding that the demand for individual home pre-order and delivery, as because it's more safe, um, has skyrocketed.
So this is the CSA program?
It's a CSA program. It's programs that bring orders to the pre-ordered or orders to the markets, farmers markets. And the impact on the farms has been not that they're losing money particularly, but they haven't, they've had to scramble to keep up with new labor, new trucks,
Of course.
new infrastructure, and a different way of doing business. And it's been wonderful to see them turn on a dime. Is it sustainable? Are people going to keep ordering like this, or is there going to be another shift? Nobody's got that crystal ball, but
I have a feeling that maybe they just will. If, as they're saying, more than 30% of the people who are now sequestered are going to remain remotely working, then they're going to want that.
yeah.
There's also a freedom in having that program. The CSA nearest me is with the the Baker
Oh, Tracy Dempsey.
Tracy
Yes.
Dempsey down the street, yeah. And you know, I wonder if people are learning more about CSAs, community supported agriculture. Talk a little bit about that so people get a better feel for what a CSA is and can do.
It's a wonderful way to get to know what's in season. It's a subscription program, and traditionally it was meant to provide funding for the farmer as they put their crops in the ground, and it gave them something to go with until the crops came out. You kind of shared the risk with the farms. In this day and age, you could pay as you go, or you could sign up for a 3 or 4 week subscription at a time. And on a regularly determined day, you'll go and pick up a bag of whatever's fresh in season that the site host has decided might be lovely. And in the case of Tracy Dempsey, she adds recipes, she adds a little history about what the food is and why it is. And she's got add-ons from her own bakery, from her friends in the local food community, pasta, goat cheese, eggs, who knows what else is coming in that bag every week. And I would love to hear, well, of course you are close to the ground and you grow a lot of your own food, but the idea of what the heck is that Armenian cucumber? And she put fennel. I love watching what she orders every week, because what is she going to do with that? And teaching, connecting with people like that.
She's done a terrific job. I think Maya has done a wonderful job as well, consistently being available at farmers markets.
Yeah.
But you know that small growers like that is a challenging choice to make in your life. And it's just, I so admire them, because as urbanity creeps in on them, water prices are not going down, seed prices aren't going down. How is this impacting seed collecting? Are people saving? Are some of the growers saving seeds from season to season?
Some of them do. Some of them know that they have a better chance of being successful purchasing new seed. But what I've heard is that some of the varieties that make it great to buy fresh and local and to grow fresh and local are no longer available. There was, as a run on some of the other commodities, there was a run on seeds. And some of the farmers were advised to purchase early before they ran out. Now, whether that's going to be replenished, I don't know. One of the things that I got to experience firsthand in the past 8 months was the co-op was asked to grow rainbow carrots for a farm to school project. And I got nervous because it was cold and I didn't know if you know, you can stand in a field and go, grow, grow, but you don't know if it's going to work. And so I was looking for a backup source of rainbow carrots. And they aren't grown except by these really hyper-local kinds of farms.
Wow.
And so the idea of condensing the volume and variety of produce that's available to us, which has already been vastly condensed because people grow what they think people will buy and no more, is kind of a, yes, it's all may have something to do with the pandemic, but it's also got to do with how can we open up, like Tracy and others have been doing, the idea that there's more than one kind of eggplant and that there's more than one kind of okra, and how fabulous it is to see that variety.
Absolutely. And it's been very, very exciting to see some of the things that are being grown. And even though, you know, if you don't get there early, you might not get it. But nonetheless, it's just really fascinating. Tell me how your interest in this issue came into your life. The issue of food deserts, the issue of nutritional foods for marginal communities. How did you get involved in that, Cindy?
Well, I go to the Wayback Machine here,
Yeah.
and I grew up with a kind of an activist family who, and a large noisy family where ideas and really bad jokes were exchanged across the table. It was always around food, and so you get it that your community is your family, and it's people that come to the dinner table with you. The ideas are exchanged, and it wasn't just, well, wouldn't it be lovely if we went and that we understand that there are some people without food, and the advantages that we have. My parents were first generation Americans, and so the idea of coming to this country, making good, was understood as a gift. It wasn't taken for granted. And we understood as children growing up that there were people that weren't able to have the same benefits. And so I always got it that there was some balancing that needed to happen. And I think I went to work when I moved out here with the food bank. Arizona Food Bank Network is the name now. And I got to spend 10 years in the field with farms that, instead of turning over and throwing out what they couldn't sell, gave their surplus to the food banks. And I spent an early morning, it was just light, with one of the growers and saying, thank you for what you are doing. And he looked me square in the eye with a lovely smile, and he said, don't thank me, I'm not making enough money to take the tax credit I'm entitled to.
Wow.
And I'm like, there's all these hungry people, 1 in 4 adults, 1 in 3 children. That number hasn't changed in 30 some years here. And that aren't getting enough food to eat on a regular basis. And there's the producers not able to make a living.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is wrong with this picture? And I was fortunate that my boss at the time, Ginny Hildebrand at the Food Bank Association, said, you know, this, you're going out on a limb here. We do emergency food, but if you want to start looking at root causes of hunger and you want to start working on solutions, you are welcome to do that here. And so the idea of connecting people at farmers markets through being able to use food stamps and using their farmers market nutrition program coupons, and making it more normal for people who weren't used to seeing each other come together around food, beautiful local food at the markets, was a good first step.
And as I recall, when you started the Phoenix Public Market, you are the founder of that market. you were the first to take food stamps in because markets weren't doing it initially. I mean, because that's another layer of bureaucratic paperwork. And you were the first to do that. And it made a huge impact, huge impact.
My friend Emma and I started that market with a whole bunch of supporters from downtown and around. And we got a grant. Emma's organization got a grant because up until like 1999, the food stamps, sorry, I have up until 1999, those food stamps had come in paper form.
Mm-hmm.
And the markets weren't equipped to accept that. And so we got a grant to buy card readers for 20 markets around the state and pay for the transaction fees for a few years, and then begin the process of working in communities and working with Department of Economic Security and helping convince people that they ought to come and see what the market's about, bring the family, see what's on the tables. And now, of course, today, Pinnacle Prevention has brought in a SNAP match program, which means that right now it's unlimited, but normally it's if you spend $20 at a farmer's market or some of the grocery stores and some of the CSAs, you can get a match of $20 in double up food bucks. They look like little pirate money tokens. They're doubloons, but you can double your money. And so there's a whole new wave of eating healthy connected to using your SNAP benefits.
Because that's a big challenge now, particularly in the pandemic. I've seen the lines at some food banks and distribution centers, and the food that used to go to schools. Are we having that issue here that used to go to schools? Where is it going? Is it coming back into the community somehow? Hopefully it is.
I think how do you say, we ain't seen nothing yet?
Yeah, it's how we say it. You ain't seen nothing yet. Yep.
I think we're not even beginning to see the ripple effect of businesses closing, people losing jobs in their homes.
Yeah.
The schools are still getting their commodities. What they've figured out to do, though, is offer it differently. Some of them are packing meals to go to be picked up by the families for 5 days a week at a time.
Oh, wow.
The food banks are getting extra money and extra funding, but you are right, the increase in need is, I don't even know the numbers, but the visuals are tremendous.
Yeah, they really, really are.
Yeah.
But I've always felt that this is going to be a change in our whole world, our whole way. We don't know what's coming at us down the pike, and it's coming. But the issue of food and the health of the distribution system, the infrastructure of this nation, there's truck drivers out of work. These issues are going to continue to spiral out. And I'm deeply concerned. We have a community garden right across the street, and that's one of my things I'm proud of. Mm-hmm. And most of the food that's grown there goes to a local food bank because they don't get fresh produce all the time. They get a lot of citrus. They get a ton of citrus. And I'm sure in season they get their share of zucchini, but they get a lot of canned goods and stuff. But they don't, things like lettuce and tomatoes and, even basil. It's such, if people wanted to get involved in that movement, there are so many community gardens they could get involved with. And there's so many ways you can help with this issue.
There's an amazing program that has been worked out with Angie Rogers at the Arizona Food Bank Network and the governor's office, where the governor recently allocated $250,000 for the food banks to buy from local farms to help stock and
Really?
supplement. And there is some emergency opportunities that they've been able to take advantage of to work with local farms. And I think that there will be some long-term planning so that some of the farms can put in the ground that which the food banks know their clients will accept and eat. And so some of that is going on. And I think it's hugely exciting because the food banks know that they can't, by charity alone, address the hunger needs, but by putting money back into the community through paying the farmers, and that money goes to truckers and storage and whatever it takes to get food moved around, then all of a sudden they're beginning to model a systems approach to the reason why people are hungry. And it isn't because there's not enough food. It is because they can't get it. They can't get it because they pay their bills first and there's not enough left to eat, or it isn't available. If you do all your shopping at a convenience store and that convenience store went to a grocery store to buy the produce that they want to offer, they have to mark it up, something that's already been marked up, and then it becomes unaffordable, or it becomes old because it sat there and nobody wanted to buy it because it costs too much. So the idea of how do we get fresh produce into neighborhoods that might not be able to or there's no transportation. Some of the places, some of the stores do. If you buy $25 worth of food, they'll give you a ride back home. Ranch Market will do that, or did, I don't know now. And it's called Activate Food Arizona. It was called Farm Express, Fresh Express for a while. They've got 2 city buses that they take on routes to various neighborhoods, housing projects, schools, and deliver. It's like a farmer's market, a mobile market. And they're buying from local producers as well.
That's really interesting. Why don't we hear more about that?
I don't know.
We
I
don't
think you're
hear more
hoping.
about that. I am. Exactly. It's always been my issue from years of working with some of the Native American communities. Those kids, Tim Moore and I growing stuff out, and they don't know that it comes from the ground, and they come out to the garden with clutching their bottle of ranch dressing, and ooh, the carrot has dirt on it. And it's like, how can you people be so distant from your food?
Right.
And how do we do these things? That's very exciting. That sounds like a terrific program. A mobile market for underserved communities.
Yeah, they have. It's now called Activate Food Arizona, but it has till recently been called Farm Express.
I'm writing that down, see what I can find about it, because that's really exciting. How can we participate in that from across the street? Yeah. And frankly, for Truce, honestly, we're looking for things to get involved in, things that we can make an impact. And food growing has been just, that's my life. And we'd like to figure out a way to create some kind of a revenue stream that feeds into those issues. So let's see what we can do. As I'm talking to people about that, I have this dream of starting a foundation that supports these kind of local issues for the kids, I remember that expression. You may be the first one who ever used it, was the food desert. It's like, what? What is a food desert? One's mind thinks, oh, they've added water and we're growing there. That's not a food desert. And there are so many in the Phoenix area, in Maricopa County. There are a number of food deserts, as I recall.
There's supposedly 55 of them, whatever that means. And it just means that it could be more than a mile that somebody would have to travel to find their
Mm-hmm.
food. And you could just imagine, I can imagine this being a mom with a toddler or three and trying to figure out how you're going to get everybody in one piece to that market and then back again.
Mm-hmm.
And in this heat without the food spoiling. And so it's a very complex issue, and not everybody, community gardens, the mobile markets, there needs to be kind of a spectrum of ways to address it, because not everybody, amazingly enough, wants to get their hand in the dirt, although it's really fun, but
Really healthy too. Does wonders if you have a lot of anxiety.
It's so much more normal in the garden, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness.
And now with climate change, what I'm noticing, and I'm sure you are too, and the growers are noticing, it's not that the temperatures are higher, it's that they're longer. The season is so much longer.
Yeah.
And this has got to be a tremendous impact as well. In this heat, you can't walk a mile to a grocery store.
No.
You can't do it.
I live half a mile from the grocery store, and as a young single mom without a car, I would go early, and I would come back and the milk would spoil already by the time I got home. And so you had to do things in smaller bites more often. And people are like, well, how are the farms adapting to climate change? Well,
exactly.
Farmers, it's maybe too broad and blanket of a statement, but I think they don't believe anything till they actually see it happen. And so I think they're used to constantly trying to mitigate factors that are way out of their control.
Like weather.
Like weather. Like the javelina that got a taste for your cucumbers. Despite your best efforts to post the no javelina signs, they still sometimes come in.
Yeah.
They can't read or won't read or whatever. And so it is just a testimony to the perseverance of these good people that they stay on the land.
And to your perseverance, my friend, you've been with this issue as long as I've known you, which is pushing 30 years, 35 years.
And that's something.
Isn't it? But you've been constant in this field. You've not changed your field of influence, your sphere of influence. And that's really quite remarkable, because I know it hasn't been easy. I know you've had a lot of challenges.
You and I have some parallels. We understand something, and no matter what I do, it goes back to that understanding that we should have good food. We should have clean products with which to use in our home so that we don't poison our home and each other. And it's the same with the farmers. I hear a lot of stuff, and I'm going to quit. I just can't do this anymore. And then the next day but the only thing I know to do is farm, and it's who I am. And I'm like, gotcha, I hear that.
You were almost out at Frank's farm today. I remember when I was at the farm at South Mountain, he was right across Southern on the other side. Remember that? That's how far back. And he turned me on to the Star hoe. I love that Star hoe. It finally just gave up the ghost. But, and he's still doing it. And he complained all the time. I just can't keep doing this. It's like, I see you've added another parcel over there. What did you plant, Frank? So I was delighted to hear you're still in touch with him.
Well, he's part of the co-op, and he is about to have his land re-accessed by the city. He's farming at 27th Avenue and Lower Buckeye Road. And then he's got a few more parcels along the 15th Avenue and Durango curve. And he's got 80 acres out in Verdon that he actually owns. but this land on Lower Buckeye, he's been leasing, and he's about to have to move because we need more water treatment plant space for the amount of people that are moving in. And it's hard to know exactly what to do, but there's some urgency to the idea that not only does Frank have to move, but there's three other farms that kind of form the market pillars here in the valley, that are about to have their land lost to commercial or residential development.
Yeah.
And if they go, I don't know that all the work in food, the production part of food systems will not any longer be robust. And so there is some urgency in saying, yes, we have to figure out policy and zoning, but I think we have to create the will and get a win to find some land for Frank, and then make it so that urban agriculture is part of what we do here, even though it's not it isn't like top on the list of priorities right now. We want to bring in business, but what is the quality of life? A neighborhood like yours, you want to go right and see that garden there. You want the open space. We don't want to cover all that land, especially the best farmland,
But
in
you're
any
right.
more houses.
That land is for sale. That land across the street is for sale. It's owned by one family, and it includes the garden. It includes all. It's a huge chunk, and they're selling it. They just don't want to deal with it anymore. And it's
Right. So
you know,
that's
you're right.
what will they put there?
What is the most popular thing to put in close to City Hall? Condos.
That's what we,
Yeah.
in your neighborhood.
I know. And we've been talking to them. Well, how about if we put in like one of those European planned communities where there's no cars allowed inside, and it's walking distance from ASU, from Whole Foods Market. What could we do if we really built something that served the greater community? But I don't know when money became the motivation for life. That's really sad to me, that there is no way that everybody's always looking at the profit part and forgetting the people part.
Short term, and there's some chaotic hope that I have that maybe this pandemic is, I'm lucky I still have a job, and so I can wax philosophical about this. But I was talking with somebody the other day, and they sold the farm behind them for 18 million. And I said, you know what? I could I'd be happy with 3 million. 1 million.
And you got Jeff Bezos, who's scheduled to be the first trillionaire. What? How much is enough people?
Right.
Look what we're doing to our world. Anyway, let's not go down that path too far. It's not very fun.
No, it's not fun.
So you're working from home for the unforeseeable future, and so am I. It's really scary in Arizona right now. We have spikes that are larger than New York at its highest.
Yeah,
that's everyone, my apologies. We had sort of a technical kerfuffle here today, and we lost sort of the last part of my talk with Cindy Gentry, which is a shame. She's just one of my favorites. But anyway, what I wanted to tell you was that, number one, I'm loving doing this. This is a lot of fun for me. I'm learning a lot. But I want to extend to you the invitation to let me know if there's someone you think I should be talking to. If there's a subject that interests you, let me know. I'll find someone to talk to. Meanwhile, please take care of yourself during this very, very scary time. This is serious, people. Wear your face masks. 6 feet distance, please. And wash your hands as usual. And remember, Truce loves you. We'll be back again. Thanks so much for joining us.